finally coming to an end.
35 years ago, we didn't have the problem of not having enough snow.
While Florida's drought is taking a toll on drinking water and the Everglades.
This drought is going to be one of the worst ones in a generation.
A closer look at that massive ice crack that stretches across Lake Erie.
Hearing that big, thump crack, it made my heart, jump up into my chest.
Roller coaster temperatures mean pothole season is starting to arrive.
Water actually seeps through some of the cracks in the pavement that are already out there.
And the role humidity plays in melting snow and ice.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. It appears the very dry winter out west may be coming to an end. Snow fell across several states on Tuesday. That's critical because snow cover and depth are at the lowest levels in decades. A lack of snow could increase the risk of wildfires and deplete future water supplies. But here's the good news. The Climate Prediction Center expects everyone in the West to see above average precipitation next week. Connor McGill has more from California's Sierra Nevada mountains.
Yesterday it was sunny. There's no snow.
After a dry and disappointing January, a February storm system is bringing a much-needed change. A winter weather system is pushing steady rain and snow through the Sierra, dropping fresh powder across the passes and at Sierra resorts.
Finally, we got the snow. It's a little powdery today.
With the fresh powder, it's much softer.
The higher peaks and passes could see 6 to 12 inches, with some Sierra resorts picking up as much as 12 to 18 inches by the time this system wraps up. During the state's last survey on January 30th, officials measured the snowpack at 47% of normal for this time of year.
The climate has changed. 35 years ago, we didn't have the problem of not having enough snow. Now it's more difficult.
And with several feet of snow possible next week, this could be the beginning of a much bigger shift for the Sierra.
The President's Day weekend could be a wet one across much of the nation. A cross-country storm should bring rain from the southwest to the east coast and the northeast. It could mean more snow as temperatures once again drop below freezing. Meteorologist Kit Alexander has more on these rapid temperature swings.
Have you ever noticed how we can go from freezing cold and with highs in the 20s and 30s to the 60s in just a couple of days? That kind of temperature swing can feel super crazy, but there's a couple of big atmospheric reasons behind it. First, it comes down to wind direction and frontal boundaries. When winds turn more southerly ahead of a warm front, they can quickly transport much warmer air further to the north. But the second reason happens higher up in the atmosphere. As warmer air moves in aloft, the atmosphere actually thickens. That means higher pressure surfaces rise, allowing that warmer air to mix down to the surface more efficiently. So you put it all together, and once that cold air retreats to the north, temperatures can jump real fast, sometimes by 30 or 40 degrees in just a couple of days. And this time of year, that kind of temperature swing is honestly pretty normal.
Earlier this week, we showed you satellite images of a massive crack across Lake Erie. Now, here's a closer view from a drone. NOAA estimates it's about 80 miles long, stretching from Canada to the Ohio shoreline. Right now, ice covers nearly 95% of the lake, but officials are warning residents it could be dangerous. Alan Ossoff has more.
We walked a little bit further out, and I heard cracking.
Oh boy. When did you hear that cracking? What did you think when you heard that cracking?
There were a couple times. So once it was a minimal crack, it sounded like a shallow crack, not like thunder from underneath your feet.
Then Alyssa Webb said the sound got louder.
Hearing that big thump crack.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And when you heard that
it made my heart jump up into my chest.
Oh my gosh. Alyssa and Clay aren't the only ones who heard those cracks.
And as I was standing right there taking a picture, I heard a little crack and I said, I'm out.
And the unpredictability of the ice is why Cleveland Fire Lieutenant Mike Norman says it's best to enjoy the lake from the edge of the water, not on it.
Even as that surface is frozen, there are currents running underneath. The river is still running underneath that ice. That can create different depths to the ice. It's just not safe to go out on that ice.
Well, snow and ice are finally melting across the Midwest and Northeast thanks to warmer temperatures. But as meteorologist Jeff Exline explains, humidity also plays a role.
Let's talk about melting snow. There are many factors that come into play with melting snow, but one big one is humidity. When there's more humidity in the air, snow will melt faster than when there's less humidity. That's why sometimes on a cloudy day where it's real damp, the snow piles will get eaten away rather rapidly versus a sunny day when temperatures are above freezing, like we are seeing here today. Why is that? Well, during the process of condensation, there is a heat transfer as that warm, humid air causes condensation in the snowpack. And that's, you go back to high school physics, an exothermic process. Thus, extra heat energy is released. That's why when it's more humid outside, the snow gets eaten away faster than when the humidity is lower.
Florida is dealing with major drought issues and is leading to concerns about wildfires and even the water supply. In a moment, you'll see the dramatic impact in the Everglades. But first, here's meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a closer look at the numbers.
Drought conditions across Florida continue to worsen with the lack of rainfall since the end of 2025. Portions of the state are now under an extreme drought, including north central Florida near the Gainesville area and Tallahassee, and parts of West Florida, too, just south of the Tampa Bay area, extending as far south as Port Charlotte, too. The rest of the region dealing with a moderate to severe drought, which includes parts of the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach County. In mid-August, 11% of the state was under some sort of moderate drought. That's expanded over the past few months. At the beginning of the year, 83% of Florida was under a moderate drought. And as of early February, 95% of the state is now under a moderate drought. So drought conditions continue to worsen. Let's put that into numbers. 16.5 million people are in drought conditions across the state of Florida. That's up about 266,000 people since last week, with 95% of the state experiencing moderate drought, 79% of the state experiences severe drought, with 24% of the state experiencing an extreme drought right now. Because of the very dry conditions, that does elevate our fire weather concerns. So there are burn bans in effect for many counties across central Florida and southwest Florida, too, including parts of the Tampa Bay area, portions of the Fort Myers area, too, and parts of north central Florida, including the northern Treasure Coast of Okeechobee County, where burn bans are currently in effect.
We're on an airboat with Marshall Jones, a fifth-generation Gladesman who runs Max Fish Camp.
Because this drought is going to be one of the worst ones in a generation. Yeah, he moved back there.
We see gators trudging through mud. It's mucky and bone dry.
Oh, all right.
Nice and cold, right?
Yep.
The further we go this direction, the drier it gets. This particular drought is coming on earlier and with a harder, more rapid onset than I've ever seen.
Rainfall is 50% down since November, prompting officials to urge people to conserve water to stop depleting the Biscayne Aquifer, South Florida's main water source. The Everglades is also home to one of the most complex and important ecosystems. Dry conditions shrinking the habitat and hiding places for wildlife.
With the rapid onset of this drought, the wildlife, many of them will be stranded out here. This area would normally be up to our knees with water.
Back at base camp, Jones has had to cut back on airboat tours because there are fewer places to go. He's also worried about brush fires already popping up.
It's a tinderbox waiting to go off.
A foggy morning along the Gulf Coast gave us this unique sunrise over New Orleans. The fog rolled in early morning, obscuring most of the Superdome. That's when the heat from the rising sun evaporated the ground fog, and by 9 o'clock, the skies were mostly clear and the fog long gone. And check this out. NASA shared this stellar time-lapse view of auroras from the International Space Station. You can see green aurora ribbons hugging Earth along with thin orange glow of our atmosphere tracing the planet's edge. Now, the auroras are the result of charged particles from the sun colliding with gases in the Earth's atmosphere, guided by the Earth's magnetic field. Oxygen contributes green and red light. Nitrogen produces blues and purples. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at the technology used to keep ski resorts up and running even when the snow does not fall, and find out why warming weather can mean problems on the road.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Last night's snow is making its way off to the east. We should be in the 30s and low 40s for highs today, with a little bit of sun developing. Any additional accumulations of snow will be confined to northern New England, parts of New York, and more so into eastern parts of Maine. That's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon there. We should be in the 30s for highs. Here we are, 5 o'clock in the afternoon Thursday. Look for a lot of sun. It's a little breezy that day with highs in the low 30s.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. A mild afternoon on Wednesday for most of the southeast. Temperatures in the 60s for the Carolinas and the 70s across the northern Gulf Coast and across central and south Florida. The chance for showers and thunderstorms continues for parts of central Alabama, Georgia, and into the Carolinas on Wednesday, then moving into central Florida by Thursday. Much drier conditions for the rest of the southeast, though. Chilly into the afternoon with temperatures in the 40s and 50s with a mostly sunny sky.
The National Weather Desk celebrates 250 years of amazing America.
Well, as we mentioned, temperatures have been warming up in areas that have seen one of the coldest winters in a decade, and it's a welcome sight. But with nighttime temps dipping below freezing, it can create problems on the road. We're talking potholes right there. Meteorologist Erica Streva explains.
Well, it's officially that time of the year, pothole season, and we have several thaw, freeze events coming up over the next week or so that could lead to more of them popping up on our area roads. And that's because whether it's from melted snow or the rain that we recently had, water actually seeps through some of the cracks in the pavement that are already out there and starts to soften the road underneath that pavement a little bit more each time it happens. Then as we go into the next step of potholes, as we get into those frozen temperatures, not only during the day but overnight, that water expands and forces that pavement upward, and it creates a little bit of a bubble in that pavement. When we drive our cars over that, that can add some stress to that already weakened area. As we get into the drier weather, the water dissipates, which leaves that hole underneath the pavement, and as we add more stress with the weight of the cars rolling over it, that can cause that hole to actually collapse. And that's where we get our potholes, which can grow even more as we drive more of our cars over it. You get more of that water to expand and freeze, potentially creating other pockets in the pavement. And that just leads to some of those massive potholes that we have all seen at times.
And despite a colder than average winter in the Great Lakes region, experts say the area is seeing a rapid growth and warming. Meteorologist Ethan Foreman looks at what the changing climate could mean for the Great Lakes fish populations.
Great Lakes regions have warmed 2.5 degrees since 1901, nearly 3 degrees since 1951. So since the last report, the Midwest has warmed another 2/3 as much as it did at that point. So basically the warming is accelerating.
Wibble says warming is expected to have an impact on the Great Lakes region even as soon as the early 2030s, especially in urban areas. Despite an increase in ice coverage on the Great Lakes this year, the future could be different.
We're seeing more declining ice cover. So 2024 actually was which was a El Nino year, recorded the lowest winter ice cover on record in the Great Lakes. Only about a 4.3% average, maximum of 16%.
And that could have an impact on the fish population.
Whitefish could disappear from parts of the Great Lake Michigan within the next 5 years.
Scott Heinzelman with the Central Lake Michigan Management Unit says that there might be some changes to what types of fish we see in the years to come.
Depending on how resilient those systems are, you may see those shift to more warm water species, over the next few decades, and you'll see those cold water species no longer be able to exist in some of those systems.
Well, it takes a lot of work to get ski resorts ready for skiers and also for snowboarders, especially when there's a lot of fresh snow. Meteorologist George Wallenberger wanted to learn more about how ski areas in Washington state are handling the snow shortage and the technology they use to stay up and running even when the snow doesn't fall.
On the slopes, good weather doesn't always mean good snow conditions. That's why grooming operators use a blend of art, skill, and technology. They can process icy snow into a nice layer of corduroy.
The guys in the machines they're the magic makers.
Steve DeWill.
The morning sun rises, illuminating the refrozen crust of a snowpack far too thin.
Right now underneath us we have 20 inches of snow. We should be in the 70 to 100 inch range right now in a normal season.
After 2 atmospheric rivers wreaked rainy havoc on the snowpack, Stephen Brockett's job is to fix that, using his experience, 40,000 hours on these snowcats.
You kind of had to rely on old school memory.
Memory and intuition, those were the ways he used to avoid damaging rocks, dragging up stumps, or scraping spots bare. Now,
when you know what's underneath you, you can go faster.
He's using new technology.
It's still in development. The LiDAR portion just came available 2 years ago. It helps us to know how much snow we've got underneath us and out in front of us so we can manage deeper spots, cover bare spots, thin spots.
Radar logs snow depth under the snowcat, while forward-pointing LiDAR, it's like radar using light waves, detects snow depth up to 150 feet ahead. Knowing this, he can operate 3 to 4 miles per hour faster. That can be an estimated 20% savings of time and 25% savings of gas.
We have a ton of night skiing, but our grooming team has less time to groom the slopes. We're operating in a way more compressed time frame of 10 to 8 in the morning.
As you're operating this equipment, you look down and you can see what the radar and the LiDAR is detecting ahead of me for the snow depth. Red is shallow snow and blue is the deeper snow.
It's using technology to ensure the snow must go on, even when it stops falling.
And meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael answers viewer questions on Facebook every week in a segment that he calls the Weather Bucket. Let's take a look at what questions he's answering this week.
What is up, everyone? Andrew Buckmichael back with another round of your Weather Bucket questions, and we are starting out fresh with new winter questions that you guys have been asking on this post on my Facebook page. So let's go ahead and grab some of these out of here, and we'll see how many we can get through in 90 seconds or less. Grove Tucky Tom asking, so Lake Erie has had a seiche or two lately, or a seiche. Does Broadcast Lake get that? Or other Central Ohio waterways? Not as much. Lake Erie is a very shallow, big lake. So when that wind blows across it, it can slosh that water to one side, but eventually it will come back. Smaller ponds and lakes will get that a little bit, but not nearly as noticeable as Lake Erie because it's just so long of a lake. All right, another question coming in. Melinda's saying, what kind of bugs get killed off during these deep freezes and how many days does it take? Every bug's going to be different. And one thing that is unique is the snow that we've got on the ground. That will help to insulate some of the bugs. But with these really long, prolonged cold snaps, mosquitoes, ticks, also stink bugs, their population will be reduced. But again, the snow, if they're buried underneath of that with some leaves, it does kind of insulate them a little bit. All right, Norm asking, when was the last time we had 3 measurable snowfalls in December for Central Ohio? I look at the record books, you had to go back to 2017 where we had at least 3 different days, and there were 4 that year, where we had at least an inch of snow for each of those days. All right, so we got 3 questions done. We got more to go. We'll have those coming up next time with your Weather Bucket questions.
All right, and time now for a short break, but first we take in sunrise views over Baltimore, Maryland.
Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sarah Converse. A little bit colder in the Ohio State. We're looking at temperatures around 35 for Columbus, the Grand Rapids 31 as a cold front had passed through yesterday. But temperatures pretty comfortable across the Midwest. 47 in Springfield, Illinois, Kansas City 53. Tonight temperatures will mainly fall into the 20s and 30s with South Bend even dropping to 18.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Our friends at Amarillo are at the freezing mark. 30 degrees this morning, not too far behind Oklahoma City. 40s down toward the south, and as you get down into South Texas, warm and humid at about 65. A little bit of a weak front comes through. That fires up some scattered showers right up along the region to San Antonio into Houston. Otherwise, temperatures are going to warm up a little bit above the normal. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
I'm George Waldenberger, your forecast for the western United States. Back to 80 in Phoenix, that's the warmest spot on the map, whereas we're as cool as 49 in Reno, all thanks to a storm system moving into the southwest. This will create wind for Southern California, also rain for much of the state, mountain snow for the Sierra Nevada mountains, as well as over the Rockies. Meanwhile, far north near the Canadian border, much quieter weather. That's the scene from out here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, if you lose power during severe weather, you may wonder if the food in your freezer is still safe to eat once the lights come back on. Meteorologist Joy Bettenhausen shows us a hack we can use to determine if the frozen food is still good or not.
So I have a fun hack for you. We're gonna fill up a cup of water, put in the freezer, and it may be able to help us determine if we lose power, if that food will still be safe to eat. Again, this isn't a foolproof hack, but one that may help us a bit. So let's get right to it. I've got a cup of water here. We're gonna wait for it to freeze, and then we'll show you what's next. Okay, our water's frozen in our cup, so we're gonna place this quarter right here. If the quarter stays right on top or melts a little bit if we lose power, food should be in good shape. Now, if your quarter falls to the bottom because the ice melted, that may mean your food has been thawed out for too long. It's not a fail-safe, but could be something you do just in case the power goes out.
And we love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.